The Australian couple Tonya and Kym Illman were stranded with car issues and decided to take a stroll along the beach as they waited for assistance. They had no idea what they were about to find would be so amazing. It was Tonya who noticed an ancient bottle reflecting the sun's beams on the beach. She had no idea there would be a mysterious piece of paper inside, followed by historical discoveries. Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Both were born and raised in the Western Australian cities of Lancelin and Perth, and on a fateful day, the couple was about to learn something extraordinary and completely unexpected. In hindsight, it was a lucky break that their car became stranded in the sand. What was supposed to be a routine beach vacation became a once-in-a-lifetime find, something that, if fate hadn't been on their side, would never have occurred. Tonya and Kym's automobile became trapped while they were traveling through the sand. They decided to take advantage of the situation rather than wait in the car for assistance. Illman's automobile practically ran aground early on January 21, 2018, to be exact. However, Tonya and Kym did not immediately make their discovery. The rubbish on the beach was the first thing they saw that morning. The Illmans decided to make good use of their free time by scrubbing the beach. Tonya noticed the sun's rays reflecting off of something as she lowered herself to pick it up. Tonya finally recognized the object as an old gin bottle when she attempted to remove it from the sand. She initially assumed it was simply another piece of beach debris lying around because it didn't seem very unusual. When Tonya presented the bottle to Bree, a friend of her son, everything about it changed. Bree examined the bottle. Through the murky glass, she could make out what appeared to be an old cigarette. As she turned it over, Bree never anticipated receiving a tightly wound piece of paper in her hand. The crew now faced a dilemma. Would they risk damaging the paper's fragile surface? Of course, the tiny rolled-up piece of paper was wet, delicate, and a complete mystery after how long the message in a bottle had been at sea. In the end, they opted to dry the paper and find out what the message in the bottle had to say. To begin with, they had to devise a strategy for unfolding the note without tearing it. When the message was finally dry enough to open and read, they found the text was very different from what the group had anticipated. It was German. The group observed that the note's size was 8 by 6. One portion was printed, while the rest was handwritten in ink. Fortunately, Kym had once learned some German and could translate a few key parts of the message for the rest of the group. The message was dated June 12, 1886. They believed the message was an inquiry. The message was aimed at research. The writing instructed whoever discovered the bottle to return it in full to the German embassy and to record the place, date, and time the message was discovered. Kym deduced from this that the bottle had been thrown into the water with a very particular objective in mind. The group had no idea what kind of research it was for. Kym was able to interpret another part of the message. The letters, Allah, struck him. He had a sneaking suspicion that the ship from which the bottle had been thrown was mentioned in the letter. He had a gut feeling that the ship's name was Paula. The Illmans got in touch with the Department of Maritime Archaeology at the Western Australian Museum to double-check the ship's name. They were scheduled to meet with Dr. Ross Anderson, the assistant curator there. They hoped that Dr. Anderson would be able to clarify some of their concerns and decipher the remaining details of the cryptic letter. They also wanted to know if the ship's name was Paula. Dr. Anderson was able to corroborate some of the Illman suspicions after carefully scrutinizing the note and its mysterious content. First, the ship referenced in the letter was unquestionably known as the Paula, just as Kym had assumed. Dr. Anderson brought several records from 1883 to the Illman family's attention after conducting an additional study. From there, they started to reveal additional details regarding the Paula ship's history. The Illmans discovered a few things about Paula after reading the archived documentation. First, it was a German sailing vessel that was mostly utilized for research. German researchers were aboard the Paula studying ocean currents. The crew was instructed to drop numerous bottles into the ocean, like the one the Illmans discovered, to accomplish this. But despite the passage of time, nobody had come forward after discovering one of these message bottles. Dr. Anderson discovered something noteworthy while reading the ship's meteorological journal, which is devoted to the many forecasts the crew at the time witnessed. He discovered a line in the captain's journal that was exactly dated June 12, 1886, the same day the telegram was discovered. The date and the coordinates matched those on the vial message, according to Dr. Anderson. But the diary contained other similarities as well. Dr. Anderson discovered that the handwriting on both documents was identical after reading the journal and the note. This demonstrated that the note and bottle were older than a century. Naturally, a lot of people didn't think the note was from 1886. After all, it would have had to endure the weather for more than 100 years to survive. Even Kym expressed doubt. In a conversation, Kym said, "It seems unlikely that this note has been sitting in the bottle, uncapped, with the scroll intact for years." Since his wife had found the bottle, he naturally wanted to believe its authenticity. He wasn't the only one who questioned the authenticity of the note. And, let's face it, probably not the first or the last either. You almost have to see it with your own eyes to realize it is so magnificent. Kym was by no means a liar, even though he had his doubts regarding the origin of the note and its age. He also isn't some cunning brain who might seduce museum professionals. It is unthinkable that I could dupe two German governmental agencies and the Gaudier Museum, Kym claimed in an interview. Nevertheless, these esteemed academics concluded the note and discovered that the 132-year-old message was authentic. As if the curator of the museum wasn't enough to persuade people of its veracity, the German Federal Maritime and Hydrographic Agency concurred. They concluded that the message was written in 1886. People continued to ask how a message from 132 years ago could remain intact. It should have been destroyed by water, since it had been floating in the ocean without a cork for so long, right? Dr. Anderson had a theory as to why the paper hadn't been damaged or disintegrated, and it involved the bottle's thick and tight neck. The thick glass and the bottle's 7 mm wide neck would have helped protect the paper from the elements. In a sense, a protective microenvironment was produced that was advantageous for the paper's long-term preservation. At the time of Tonya's discovery in 2018, the bottle was 132 years old. To their surprise, the Guinness Book of World Records named this message the world's oldest message in a bottle and was included in the 2019 book. The most amazing thing that had ever happened to Tonya was this, and it all happened as she was simply cleaning up rubbish left by others while strolling down the beach. She had no idea that she would uncover such a unique piece of history. How many people can claim to have stumbled upon a 132-year-old message in a bottle that was sent from a German ship in 1886 as it attempted to comprehend ocean currents? Yes, the Illmans are the only ones.